tonight. More questions surrounding an act of vandalism at a Sask Party campaign office. We go inside the push to get more Indigenous people to vote. And why some voters in rural Sask Party strongholds are changing their vote this election.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, October 23rd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams in for Sam McKeag. Thanks for joining us. The provincial election is just days away, and party leaders are bringing their last-minute pitches to voters as they travel to communities across the province. But as Alexander Kwan reports, a vandalism incident at a Sask Party campaign office is still raising questions.
Why did you characterize the vandalism as shooting?
Good morning, because that's what the police said it was.
That was the only question Saskatchewan Party leader Scott Moe took from media. At a campaign stop in Prince Albert, Moe spent 15 minutes giving a speech that hit on familiar topics, such as a strong economy and the carbon tax. But what he didn't address were comments he made the day before.
What appears is there was at least one bullet that was shot into their campaign office. This is unprecedented for our province and unprecedented in a campaign.
All available evidence paints a much different picture. Police are continuing to investigate, but they say these two holes were not caused by a gun. Moe wouldn't tell media who told them the window was shot at, but Regina police say no officers told anyone the damage was the result of gunshots. A police timeline indicates Moe's comments on Tuesday were made before officers even arrived at the scene to investigate the report. Police also say the person who reported the damage wasn't even sure when it happened. They also confirmed that they've received multiple reports of property damage, such as broken windows, in the same area this week. NDP leader Carla Beck says Moe should be accountable for his comments.
As I've often said, I think as leaders we all have a responsibility to be careful with the words that we use. We have a choice to inflame or to show leadership.
Police are still trying to figure out how the window was damaged, no matter the cause. Beck says any threats of violence are unacceptable. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
Meanwhile, First Nations leaders are also trying to get more Indigenous people to cast their ballots in this election. And they've been working with Election Saskatchewan to do that. Laura Sharpaletti has that story.
This building is empty right now, but on Monday it will be the destination for members of Pasqua First Nation as they cast their ballots close to home.
We've had a lot of buzz around the nation. Like I said, without the polling station on the nation, I don't even know what percentage of our population gets to cast their ballot.
John Zwick says Nation members usually have to drive to Fort Capel there and back for a total of 40 minutes to vote in provincial elections. That, she says, may have contributed to low voter turnout in the past. One Pasqua polling volunteer hopes that changes.
I'm optimistic, but we'll see, especially with people with disabilities and stuff. Mind you, we have health staff that help a lot of our elders out, and if our elders had asked, we would, send somebody to pick them up to bring them to vote.
Nation leaders say many Indigenous people also believe their vote won't make a difference. This band councillor says he has never voted in a provincial election, but says he's excited to vote for the first time this election day.
We need to start doing that now than later, because we have to start thinking about our children, our grandchildren. If we continue to not vote, then, that's telling our children that, we don't care about their future.
John Zwick says there's one big issue that's front and center for the people on Pasqua First Nation.
The concern about the environment, about our water, about our power sources, those are all big concerns for us. To be able to have a say in who leads our province that we live in is very important to us. Are they going to work with us? Do they understand our issues?
John Zwick says she hopes the convenience of an on-nation polling station will draw voters out so they have a say. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Pasqua First Nation.
Well, the Saskatchewan Party has maintained a strong grip in rural ridings for the past 17 years, but those areas are also struggling when it comes to access to health care. And that's on some voters' minds as they head to the polls. Jenny Whitfield went door knocking to get a sense of what voters are saying.
Sean Wilson is used to seeing friendly faces as he walks along the village of Theodore. He's the new candidate for the Saskatchewan Party in the Kenora-Pelly riding. It's been a Saskatchewan Party seat for as long as there's been a Saskatchewan Party.
People remember what it was like under the NDP pre-2007, and I truly believe the people here understand what we would go back to with an NDP government.
Wilson says the NDP closed rural hospitals and schools, including here in his riding in the 90s. And while he admits the healthcare system has challenges, he says his party has an ambitious plan to recruit and keep healthcare workers in rural areas.
It's yielding good results in our constituency. Obviously, more work needs to be done, but the party itself is at the door. People are optimistic with the results.
But on the first door he knocks, he comes across a voter who doesn't feel so optimistic. Richard Thompson shares that his wife had just died that week, something he feels was due to inadequate health care and a health problem that went undiagnosed. He agreed to speak to us off camera about his experience.
My wife went to the hospital at least 8 times. 2 of those times she had to come back home because she sat in the hospital for 11 hours and didn't see nobody. So yeah, healthcare is a big deal for me. I'm 60 years old and I'm wondering if I stay in Saskatchewan, will I make it to 65?
Thompson says he won't vote for Scott Moe or the Saskatchewan Party, and he's not alone. Betty Dix and Brenda Andrews are seniors who live in the riding east of Theodore in the town of Sask. Their local hospital has dealt with multiple staffing shortages that's affected patient care.
A friend of mine a couple of years ago she came to the hospital, she came to emergency, there were no beds open at that time. She was in extreme pain with her back. She was in so much pain that she was screaming in that hospital that she was not leaving. They had to do something. She was not leaving. They finally phoned an ambulance and they told her there's nothing they could do for her.
Her friend was eventually sent to a hospital an hour and a half away. So while Kenora-Pelly may be considered a safe seat for the Saskatchewan Party, Dix and Andrews say they will not vote for this party under Scott Moe's leadership. They believe they're not alone.
There's more anger and frustration out there, and I think the Sask Party's got to be worried about the rural areas. They're not a given anymore.
She and Dix say they hope whichever party forms government will keep in mind the health needs of rural residents, because their lives depend on it. Jenny Whitfield, CBC News, Sask.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is under more pressure than ever before to step down, and it's coming from inside his own party. Now those trying to oust Trudeau have given him an ultimatum. Ashley Burke reports.
The Liberal Party is strong and united.
The party may be united, but not necessarily behind its current leader.
We need change, but
Liberal MP Wayne Long among those calling on Justin Trudeau to step down.
Liberal Party is an institution in this country. It's bigger than one person, one leader.
He's among 24 Liberal MPs who sources say signed a letter calling on Trudeau to go. And that today an MP read out a document at caucus that says Trudeau has until Monday to decide if he'll leave.
Do you think the Prime Minister should stay?
It's not up to me, it's up to him.
The Prime Minister will make a decision, and he will, whatever the decision is, we will stand behind him.
During that private meeting, Liberal MPs say as many as 20 of their colleagues voiced concerns about the Prime Minister, while others stood behind him.
We heard a lot. Over, I'd say 50 or so people spoke. We heard every angle, every aspect of this. And what it's left us with is something to go away and think about.
Liberal MPs told CBC News the Prime Minister listened and said he would reflect on what caucus told him. But Trudeau told his MPs he wasn't convinced he had to go.
He's quite clear about his intentions, and I don't expect those to change.
My colleagues need to turn the knives outwards and not inwards, and we need to focus on the most important thing, which is getting things done here in Parliament and taking the fight to Pierre Poilievre, because he's a disaster for this country.
The Conservatives seizing on the Liberal division as ammunition against Trudeau.
His caucus
is revolting. Will he call a carbon tax election today?
Once Trudeau tells his MPs what he's deciding to do, those trying to oust him will decide how they're going to respond. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, a relatively clear day in Prince Albert along the North Saskatchewan River. It was a chilly start, though, at about -2, plus a wind chill making it feel a little more like -7. Remember the wind chill? Well, but temperatures did climb to about 9 degrees by the afternoon. And that part of the province, could be in for some cloud cover and even a little bit of some moisture, too. Riley Lachuk, our weather specialist, will have a look at our forecast when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Bank of Canada has gone big with its latest interest rate cut, dropping its trend-setting policy rate by 0.5 percentage point.
We took a bigger step today because inflation is now back to the 2% target, and we want to keep it close to the target.
The bank's overnight rate now stands at 3.75%. The central bank says its job has shifted from lowering inflation to maintaining it around its 2% target. The bank is also forecasting inflation will stay in that range into 2026. Macklem says more cuts can be expected as long as the economy evolves in line with forecasts. Well, the election is just days away, and all the candidates are working hard to get your vote. One of them is Naomi Hunter, the leader of the Saskatchewan Green Party. Hunter says the Sask Party and the NDP have lost their way, and she wants voters to know the Greens are an alternative. Here's part of her conversation with Leisha Grabinski on CBC Radio's Blue Sky.
They are trying not to take stances too far in either direction in many cases. And when people say that they are voting for the NDP because they're voting for change, is it enough change? Look at our platform. Look at the Green Party and you will see that nobody else is actually calling for a guaranteed livable income, ending poverty in the province of Saskatchewan, ending homelessness, which has reached endemic proportions, especially in our urban centres of Saskatoon and Regina. We're talking about rapidly transitioning people into permanent housing, real climate action. The environmental stances that I see from every other political party in this province are lukewarm at best and often actually counterproductive. Both the Sask Party and the NDP have actually said that they are in favour of the nuclear solution for Saskatchewan. We are absolutely opposed to this. We want to see Saskatchewan move to clean, green energy sources. We have the best solar hours per anywhere in the country. We have the best wind option for anywhere in the country. This needs to be done quickly. Nuclear is expensive. We are a small population already in huge debt. We cannot afford the giant price tag that comes with nuclear. As well, we're a drought-prone province. And these SMNRs are proposed to have the water source needed to cool them from Leif Diefenbaker, which is also, ironically, where Scott Moe is proposing that the Diefenbaker Dam expansion water will come from. 70% of Saskatchewan's drinking water comes from this water source, and it's incredibly irresponsible. If a nuclear spill were to happen, this would affect the drinking water for the majority of the province.
Tell me more about what makes you think a nuclear spill is possible with a small modular reactor. Tell me about that.
All reactors do create waste, and calling it a small modular reactor is actually a misnomer as well. The footprint of these actually is as large as a regular reactor. That's one of the things that has been a mistruth that's been put out as well. Nuclear is the most expensive option for power that there is available, compared to solar, which now comes in at the lowest possible price tag. Saskatchewan used to have the best solar net metering project in the country, and that was axed with almost no warning by Scott Moe and the Sask Party. And this put hundreds of tiny little small and micro businesses out of work who were actively installing solar in the province of Saskatchewan. We need to move back to readily available solar, wind, geothermal, all those kind of clean energy solutions, because the climate crisis doesn't have the kind of timeline that nuclear has. The fact of the matter is that all over the world, people are managing to supply their power and energy needs. We do not have a problem of not being able to accomplish this in Saskatchewan, where our major source of fuel right now is still coal. What we lack is political will.
And you can listen to Naomi Hunter's entire interview from Blue Sky on our CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. 5 other party leaders also joined Blue Sky for conversations about their party's platforms. The Saskatchewan Party was the only party that declined our invitation.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Our greatest auto sale is on now.
Well, we had some sunshine earlier today in Saskatoon, and now as the sun starts to go down, the cloud cover has moved in as we look at a shot of the Broadway Bridge this evening. Riley Lachuk is in for a look at our full forecast now. Hi, Riley.
Well, Ethan, if you're not a fan of the cooler temperatures we saw yesterday, you're probably saying something like, that's a little bit more like it. Here's a look at some of our afternoon highs from the day today. 9s and 10s, actually fairly seasonal for this time of the year across south and central parts of the province. Kindersley getting to 7 this afternoon. Yorkton 11 degrees. A bit of cooler weather through parts of the north, just 2s and 3s for daytime highs. We are looking at, I'm going to say, rinse and repeat for the next couple of days at least, with temperatures like these before we see a real change in our pattern. Here's a look at satellite radar from the afternoon hours here. Mix of sun and clouds for the most part today. A bit more cloud in extreme southern parts of the province or places like Assiniboia today, but generally a sun-cloud mix throughout the day today, and that's what we're looking at as we get into the day tomorrow. So as we advance this into the overnight hours, first thing in the morning tomorrow, a bit of cloud through central parts of the province for places like Saskatoon, the Battlefords into Prince Albert. This particular forecast model, as we get to the lunch hour, wants to give a little bit of rain or even some wet snow to parts of central Saskatchewan, particularly along that Highway 16 corridor. I am thinking that's a pretty outside chance, but the risk is there that we could see a little bit of wet weather tomorrow. But generally, we're looking at mainly sunny skies, sun-cloud mix for parts of northern Saskatchewan. And even into Friday, we're looking at a mainly sunny sky. Maybe a bit of snow first thing in the morning, not talking accumulation, but certainly we could see a couple of wet flurries as we head overnight Thursday into Friday morning. What we will see, though, is a little bit of wind as we head into the day on Thursday. By the lunch hour, we're looking at winds out of the west at 20, gusting to 40 through central parts of the province, Saskatoon into Prince Albert. Could see some of those gusts even into southern parts of the province. The winds do back off a bit overnight into Friday morning, but we do still see a little bit of gusting as we get into the afternoon hours on Friday. In terms of your long-range forecast, we're looking at temperatures staying relatively the same as we get into the next several days here. So for Thursday, Friday for Regina, 9-degree highs, a mix of sun and clouds, bumping up to 12 for Saturday. But look at some of these nighttime lows in the -4, -5 range as we head Thursday into Friday and Friday into Saturday. And we do bump up a little bit more as we get into the later part of the weekend. 15 for Sunday, bit breezy as we head into next week, 13 for Monday, and then back to seasonal by mid next week. For Saskatoon, we are looking at a 10-degree high for Thursday, a mix of sun and clouds. We keep the sun as we get into the weekend. Again, look at some of these nighttime lows, particularly as we head Thursday into Friday, -4, into Saturday, overnight -5. So we're looking at some of those cooler fall-like overnight lows returning as we get into the weekend. Then we bump up once again, cloudy with sunny breaks for Saturday. Slim chance we could see some showers into Monday, Ethan, and then we're looking at temperatures back towards seasonal as we get into next week. I'll have a look at your day planner for tomorrow when I come back.
Sounds great. Thanks, Riley.
On a 1-2, Ohtani sends one in the air, the other way, back it goes, gone!
That's Los Angeles Dodgers player Shohei Ohtani becoming the first player in Major League Baseball to hit 50 homers and steal 50 bases in a season with that home run shot last month. The ball he hit sold at auction last week for a record 6 million Canadian, the most ever paid for any game ball from any sport. 3 people are claiming to be the rightful owner of the ball, the man who walked away with it, and 2 others who say they grabbed it first. Meanwhile, Ohtani and the Dodgers are getting set for Game 1 of the World Series against the Yankees on Friday. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Welcome back. The Saskatchewan Roughriders were back on the practice field after a bye week, and a few players returned to the field as the team's nominees for the CFL awards. Offensive lineman Trevor Reed is up for Most Outstanding Rookie after starting in all 17 regular season games. His O-line partner Logan Furland is up for Most Outstanding Lineman. The Melfort product helped allow the fewest sacks among all West Division playoff teams this season. Samuel Emelis is up for Most Outstanding Canadian for the 2nd straight season, but it's Roland Milligan Jr. in the spotlight with the nominations for Most Outstanding Player, Most Outstanding Special Teams Player, and Most Outstanding Defensive Player.
I don't really like attention, but it's an honor for sure. Just being recognized for just, putting in work all year, off season, coming back from injury.
To see what he's been able to do this year has been outstanding. But just, being around the guy every day, seeing how he conducts himself and how he prepares himself, it doesn't shock you to the success that he's had.
The final West Division nominees for the CFL Awards will be announced next Thursday. The awards themselves will be handed out on November 14th during the Grey Cup Festival in Vancouver.
Well, here's a look at some of our overnight temperatures as we get into the night tonight, and really dropping below the freezing mark for south and central. Clear skies under the influence of high pressure. That means some colder temperatures overnight as some of that heat escapes. So Maple Creek down to -2, -4s, -5s in the Regina area. Saskatoon a bit cloudier, getting down to 0 overnight. So for Regina, first thing in the morning, looking at a wake-up temperature of -4. Our sunset not till after 8 o'clock in the morning now. By lunchtime, mix of sun and clouds back up to +4. Gusty winds, we could see some winds up to about that 40-kilometer-an-hour mark for gusts as we get into the afternoon. 9 degrees by 4 o'clock. Saskatoon 1 first thing in the morning. And Ethan, we're bumping up to a high of 9 tomorrow afternoon under a mix of sun and clouds.
Okay, not bad. Thanks so much, Riley. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to our website, cbc.ca/sask. Subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or you can download the CBC News app. And of course, that's where you'll find all of our election coverage as well. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.